see it.
Hi, and welcome back to the Up Zone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your three hosts, Mr. Ted Moan, former representative for the City Council for District 9,
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Elmer Floyd, former House representative for North Carolina, the 43rd District.
Correct.
Okay, good morning, sir. And then myself, Tisha S. Waddell, former City Council representative for the 3rd District. I told you guys I can't find my glasses. I don't have any eye makeup on, so my face looks a little distorted to me, but that's okay. It is what it is. I just had to make the letters big on my computer so I can see them. I don't know when this happened, y'all. I don't know when my eyes went from eagle eyes to buzzard eyes, but but it is what it is. Y'all doing all right today?
Yes.
Yes.
Ted, you were telling me what the weather's going to be. Tell our audience, just in case they are unaware, what are we looking at in terms of heat today?
Oh, it's going to be nice. Low 80s, pretty much, and then mid 80s this weekend with a small chance of rain. So that's why I'll be out cutting my grass today, because it's going to be nice and relatively cool for this time of year.
That's right. So enjoy the weather. Stay comfortable out there. Do not dehydrate. Make sure you're drinking plenty of fluids. Today is also the homeless stand down. It is taking place at Festival Park. I think that they have everything pretty much covered. But if you are paying attention to this broadcast and you are unsheltered, you have no home, most certainly head on over to Festival Park. They've got resources, especially if you are a veteran. If you are a veteran, this is an event that is specifically, I think, it might not be specifically for the veteran population, but they have resources there for the veteran community. Mr. Floyd, do you have anything that you want to share before we get in the word on the curb?
Let's go forward.
Let's go. So let's talk about a change. Mr. Floyd, you brought this up. I'm pretty sure either Ted or Mr. Floyd, one of y'all brought this up in a previous podcast where you were talking about this review moving forward with the council policies. And it confused me because I thought certainly when Yvonne Kinston brought this up before her departure from the city council, that the review she was talking about was a review of how the council did business amongst the council, not necessarily how the people did business with the city. But one of the first changes that we have seen come out of this review process is what, Mr. Floyd?
Well, you limit the time that I can come before the council. I only have 12 months, once a month, and 30 minutes. And now you're telling me that I got to change the way that I do it. And I just want to be before you for 30 minutes, once a month, 12 months out of a year.
Right. Is what, Mr. Floyd? My phone is talking about. Tell me what you gather from that, Mr. Floyd. What does that say to you?
It let me know that I'm not important. That now, person of a senior nature, are still using the rotary phone. Now you're telling me that I got to go now to Best Buy and buy a computer or get an iPhone and call in before 5 o'clock. And perhaps, if I do that, you'll have whatever I need ready by 7 o'clock, you know, there. So if that's the case, if I had an iPhone or if I had a computer, then why don't you just email it to me and text me, and I don't have to come before the council?
So what I hear you saying is that you believe that this is going to affect the population of people who really is the most active and engaged in the political process, and that is our group that's like 55 and over.
They are the one that you see at the poll, and I think Ted can verify that because he works at the poll.
He sure does. He sure does. Let me ask you guys a question. Ted, how do you we've been there. So what is your response to this change?
The way I understand it and listen to it, we still have legislative agendas, public hearings, not public forum. And so legally, for when there's a redistricting or a special use, people sign up, they still have up until 7 p.m. But the public forum, where you could come and speak on anything, that's the one that they pushed back to 5 o'clock. And it passed 5-4, and the mayor was not there. So Mayor Pro Tem Dawkins ran the meeting, and it was a 5-4 vote.
For the 5 10, I always like to point out who made this change, who said let's do this, who were the 5.
Mayor Pro Tem.
So
Dawkins,
Johnny.
Yep. Kathy Jensen, Brenda McNair, DJ Hare, and one more. I want to say Shaquila, Dino, Courtney, and Mario voted no.
You know why? Let me tell you why. Because they got good sense. They voted no because they have good sense. Because anybody with good sense reduce the amount of time. The opposite, they would have said, you know what, let's give people more time to sign up. It's not like people are beating down the doors at City Hall into meetings. Most of the time, it's an empty house at City Hall. So the reality, what is the purpose of this? What is the point of this?
Well,
that's all I got to say about that. Go ahead, Mr. Floyd.
It's sometimes, we want to be public, but we don't want to be public.
Right.
We want to be friendly.
We want veiled transparency.
Yeah. That's the thing.
But you can see through the dots. That's it.
Yeah.
And then again, people are more uniform. If the public hearing is 7, then to speak before the council 7, the time frame.
Yeah, because that just mess you up. Yeah. People are. But that's okay. Go ahead.
People like us, we pay attention. So I understand what I have to do now. Something else, a policy they passed was, oh my goodness, these last couple of years, minus COVID, more and more time at the beginning of the meeting was filled with announcements, recognitions, this, that. They are now going to begin the announcements and recognitions before 7 o'clock. Kathy Jensen explained that. That way, their goal is when 7 o'clock hits, they actually get into the agenda versus all the, every year we recognize the same organizations, boom, boom, boom.
Is it pre-recorded, Ted?
I'm sure it'll be live on Channel 7, and then they always.
But I'm thinking of the recognition. Are the recognition, are they pre-recorded?
Oh no, these people come, and they go up to the dais, and then one of the council members, normally the mayor or somebody else, if it's in their district, then they'll go down, to the podium, and the people are recognized in person, and then council members sometimes have just announcements. Hey, this group is meeting on this day at this park.
How many minutes is that allowed during the council meeting?
Shit, I've seen it go 45 minutes before. I've seen it go 10 minutes before. It all depends on how many they're going to recognize that day. It could easily be 30 minutes.
So I've got a question.
Seems like a good time.
My question is, this has changed since we left. Typically, there's a dinner meeting before the meeting. The dinner meeting is used to go over how to flow in your actual meeting. That dinner, where any information, last minute information comes before the council, any questions or intention that the council may have before they actually go into the meeting. Depending upon content of the meeting can last an hour. So are we saying that the dinner meeting is going to be pushed up to 5 o'clock so that by 6 o'clock dinner meeting and then they've got 45 minutes for announcements? Or are we saying that the council not be for the announcements? Like, how's that going to work?
I don't think they've thought through all of that yet.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen anything in public on how that might flow. But you're right. There's times when we have closed sessions, for attorney-client privilege.
And you're in there. Until sometimes you're in there until 10 minutes after 7. Wait on you. I just think sometimes they don't think. Maybe is a really great suggestion. Maybe record these things. Maybe you have designated as recognition day and you do all the recognitions and the mayor comes and the mayor pro tem and any other council member that wishes to participate comes, and that's how you do that. But that doesn't make
sense. Let me ask y'all a question. You both served on the council. Do I pay for this dinner meal? What is it? 2 times a month?
No, it's however, right. So do
I pay for this meal, or do you all do it come out of your travel?
You do pay for the meal, but let me tell you this: it's relatively, in terms of cost, it is not really a sticking point. This has been a conversation before, and I will say this because, as somebody who did serve, it is a bit time consuming. A lot of people who are on the council have obligations throughout the course of the day. Remember, these are part-time employees. Are typically
my question goes the same. Do I pay it as a taxpayer?
Absolutely. You pay for everything that your government does. But I want to be clear because I don't want anybody to get a wild hair up their butt and think that this is some over-the-top expenditure that shouldn't be.
But it's paid for by taxpayer.
Absolutely.
You have many people that volunteer. That leave their jobs and come to volunteer. You want to feed them too?
Typically they do get fed.
No, that's okay then. Everybody get fed.
There was 2 years when the last time I served with Katie Ann Davey, where council members rotated and brought whatever food for our dinner meetings. So we rotated, and then that disappeared. So it used to come out of our pockets and rotated to all 10 council members, but then it went back to city funds.
So you cut my time, but I still got to feed.
You still got to feed them. You still got to feed them. They didn't feed y'all in Raleigh, Mr. Floyd.
We was there to serve.
But y'all had to feed them. Y'all had to eat.
Yeah, but like the scripture said, eat home, because this is just a reception. Okay, you eat.
I got it. I'm not mad at it. I got it. But listen, we're coming up to the point where we can determine whether we agree with the dinner meeting. We can determine whether we agree with these changes. What is getting ready to happen this year where we can have displeasure or pleasure with those who are elected? You guys, what's the horizon?
Elections is there. And don't forget now, the city has a lot of revenue that it has to make up. And one of those things is to ask you, teach, no disrespect to you and Larry, to eat at home prior to coming.
Now, I agree with that, especially given where we are in terms of the budget. I don't disagree with you, Mr. Floyd, because there is some ground that has to be made up in this budget, and that may be one of the places that we see cuts. I doubt it, but it may be, because this seems to be a pretty council. This seems to be a council that's thinking about themselves and not so much the community that they. I say that because when we look at even the conversation with, I have 2 separate council members. I won't call names because I don't know how they're going to vote and I don't want to do, but we can talk about it later. But I told both of them, This community is, I heard Goldie say in an advertisement for the food, 1 in 5 families. You know what that means, guys? That means families cannot afford to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, teach that
To eat.
in my community, which is 301, we are in a food desert. We don't have fresh food like you have over the, what you 311.
Well, I
Are
agree,
you
because let me tell you, we have the food delivery now. Again, that doesn't always understand how to use the technological advances. But given the fact that 1 in 5 families is food insecure, that means we, any way you slice it, if 20% of your residents can't eat, y'all poor. We are also tier 1, right?
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. Thank
Which
you. But you
says,
don't want any money. You don't want any money.
but wait, Mr. Floyd, the other part about that is, I shared with this particular council member, I love the value of my home, not the tax value, but the value if I were to sell my home today. We moved into our home maybe 5-6 years ago. Our value of our home in terms of sale has increased by $65,000.
Mm.
If that's a lot of money, which means if we were to try and buy the house that we live in, probably could not afford to. That's concerning, right? Because that says, first of all, we can't sell, because if we sell, where are we going to go live? Secondly, these houses are expensive. And this is what I said to that council. Nothing about the neighborhood has changed to justify a $65 increase for the sale price of my house. We get a Whole Foods, not new sidewalks all throughout my neighborhood. The house hasn't been resurfaced or refaced or whatever. We're still a quaint little quiet neighborhood, but $65,000, guys. That's twice the value of the, almost half the value of the house.
Calm down, Tish. We got to figure out ways to look at things without raising taxes. We got to look at charges. So don't get emotional. Please don't get emotional. So
we're just raising fees. We're not raising taxes. But we got this election. We got this election coming up. Ted, who's going to the polls?
Typically 90% are, or 80% are, 60 years and older, during a non-presidential.
Ted, I want you, while you're sitting at your computer, I want you to go look at the Zestimate value of your house. And I want you to tell me if it surprises you. And then after you do that, I want us to talk about the numbers of who our voters are, what the voter population looks like. Because we really need people. If you're going to rely on the political system, we need for you to actually participate in the political system. And Mr. Floyd, you always say it. You and Ted always say it. Y'all want people to do what, Mr. Floyd?
I don't give up. I really don't know. I just want them to go and vote.
Did you say you give up?
I mean, when I look at Cumberland County itself, and you mentioned it's a poor county. We oust people who want to bring money into the county because one person thinks that it's not best for our county. Mm-hmm. That person wants to decide for us what is best for
our community.
But at the same time, we want to run with the big dog. So maybe in November, and Ted had the draft, a draft that I saw about the voters. We lost 18,000, and we're going through a redistricting process. So how is that going? And trying to keep Cumberland County as a whole county in both districts without splitting Cumberland County with, adjoining county. And that's
absolutely
what happened. We're 344 in population, which a house district makes up somewhere between 900 to 1 million people, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Absolutely.
But but yet still, you know, we want to feel. And what really bothers me most of the time is that we want to compare ourselves with Raleigh, Durham,
Chapel
Greensboro.
Hill.
We can't do that. We don't have the resources. We have infrastructure.
Right.
So
We're
we
trying to compare ourselves with tier 3 communities.
yeah, we can't do it. We can't do
Right.
it.
Yeah.
We
That's
can't.
like comparing our government to the White House. There's no comparison.
No.
Ted, did you look at your estimate?
Which what website should I look at?
You can go to
Zillow?
like Zillow.com, or you can go to any of those. But
Oh,
in the meantime, while you're looking at that, Mr. Floyd, let me ask you one more question about these elections. What is the one thing that you would tell people to pay attention to as we're going into the municipal elections in order to be able to make a decision about how they want to vote? Because every year, it never fails. You start getting these mailers, you start hearing the ads. What do people need to pay attention to?
Service, 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 and then Amazon.
Did they deliver?
That is the key. Now, if I got the same dog on the corner that's been there for 2 years, homeless and houseless, there has been no change. At least you could have moved the dog to the next corner.
Or put it in the backyard, something.
I
Yeah,
mean,
anything.
that's what you have to look at. I mean, ever since I've been here, I've heard improvement in the Murchison Road comp. I heard it, I heard it, and I heard it, and I heard it.
Well, now they're saying, now here's the thing. They're saying, well, we're doing it. We've been going on Rosemary. We're making all of these changes. DOT's coming in and they're getting ready to do some changes. So they're to
What DOT is going to do is going to mess up Murchison Road. If you notice, they're going to move from Spring Lake. Then we get back to the figures that Ted had here. 3 lanes from Spring Lake, 4 lanes from 401. I mean, from Spring Lake. I mean, from the city limit down to 401 bypass.
Mhm.
Then when they get down to by Fayetteville State, they're gonna have 2 lanes and give you some greenery.
Absolutely. Ted, what you got for us?
well, Zillow's crazy. It jumped up almost 75,000. For what?
Because of the housing market. It's not, nothing's changed. That's what I said. Nothing has changed. It is the housing market. There's not enough inventory. So demand is higher than supply. And we took economics classes in high school. Anytime demand is higher than supply, what happens?
Mm-hmm. Maybe I should
Go
sell it
up.
and get you know what do you call it, the tiny house?
Look, I told Larry, I said, we can go live in a trailer. We can take this $65,000, buy us a trailer, and be all right.
Yeah.
Uh, you
Woo.
know, and the thing that we always talk about, T and Ted, affordable housing.
What is
There's
that?
no such thing today as affordable housing. Why not just say housing? Because they are no longer affordable housing.
Mm-mm.
It's just
Right.
housing. Let's strike the word affordable
Affordable.
and just
Right.
say
Yeah.
how big
I,
a
yeah.
housing.
Yeah. I
Because when
couldn't
you
buy
look at
my
the
house.
price,
Yeah. I couldn't
when you
buy
look,
my
Big house today.
no, and I have like a 2.75 interest rate when I refinanced,
Me
and
too.
now what is it? 5, 6, 7%? Mm,
7.725.
dang. Mm-mm.
And don't
Exactly.
forget now, I'm gonna give you all another blessing. I might give you 2 more rate increases for the years over now. But Ted, I done got away from your graph.
Yeah, let's
But
talk historical voter registration data.
Right, right. So I used on the top under the date. I used the November numbers for the presidential elections, and it
Mm-hmm.
showed how Cumberland County registered voters, went up a little bit, and then in 2020 it went to the highest, and we had the highest voter presidential vote at just over 65%, all the way on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And then as of Saturday, when I went to the State Board of Elections voter registration and looked at Cumberland County, we're down to 208. And then when I downloaded the file, there's actually out of that 208,000, almost on the far right inactive, almost 40,000 that are inactive, which means they haven't voted, or the reason that they're inactive is when the Board of Elections sent them a confirmation postcard, they've never gone back to confirm their address, or they never came back. And the other one was confirmation returned undeliverable, which means they had a bogus address.
Okay.
And so since November of 2020, the peak, all the way to this Saturday, we've
voters.
18,632 have been purged from Cumberland County voter database. And most of that was deceased, moved, expiration of inactive status. It's either 6 or 8 years. If you're inactive, then they just remove you. You're still in their database. You're not even considered inactive anymore.
Ted, does this account for growth of new registries? So is this taking into account, as people turn 18 and they get registered to be able to vote? So we're looking at a loss even with those gains.
Yes. No, and Cumberland County is very good with their voter registration. Just like when my son registered at the DMV, boom, in the next weekly update, he was listed in Cumberland County, voter database. So Cumberland County is very good with maintaining their voter database.
Does this data speak to a decline in the population of Cumberland County?
No, Cumberland County actually went up several thousand in the last census. I think what this is you have a lot of these nonprofit or nonpartisan. They say they're nonpartisan. They go out, to the different parades or games or festivals, and they have a tent and they register people. People, fill it in, and then these organizations, by law, hand deliver those registrations to the Board of Elections, and then the Board of Elections has to, mail them a confirmation. And so what this tells me is a lot of these inactive because they haven't returned or undeliverable. It's a waste of time for all these organizations to be out there in the heat, at these functions, trying to grab all these young kids to register, and then the young kids just say, okay, I registered, and then they never follow up with it.
Does it speak to maybe a decline in the participation of the political process? Because there's a deficiency somewhere. In addition to the lack of follow-up, if you're dropping 18,000, even though you're growing,
right,
there's a deficiency somewhere. So does this maybe speak to a desire not to participate?
Yeah. And during the 2020 non-presidential, November election, there was a significant decline from the previous non-presidential election here in Cumberland County. So, at least for Cumberland County, it looks like people, under 40 or under 50, simply aren't interested. Because just look at the numbers that come out to vote.
Okay, well, I go ahead, Mr. Floyd, because I don't have anything else to say about it.
Have gotten frustrated. As an example, my party have lost over 50,000 registered vote Democrats in the last decade, and that means, though our state grew in population because we have another U.S. House member. People are frustrated with the political process. They see, and minorities now see that their party has been using them and say, "Why vote?" So they're staying away. And each time that you have an election, they always say, is that we want greater minority participation, because they know that without the minority participation, it's hard for a white Democrat to win a race unless he had 90+% of the Democrat vote in his or her district. So
Hmm.
people have really gotten frustrated, and they feel that they have been used. Amazon does not reach their community, so they just say, "Why vote?" Just like I say to you all before, we're talking about having annexation, and all of that. But what the minority community need is not necessary. We need emergency responders, but we also need code enforcement officers that would help sustain the city tax bases and help us maintain our property.
Absolutely. And while you're saying that, might I add, I believe that we need code enforcement officers on shifts. I think that we need 8 to. We also need some evening and weekend code enforcement because there are a lot of things that are taking place that are activities we're responding to out of that window of 8 to 5 a.m. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. Monday. Um, take a break and come back and talk about what's happening in terms of it. I believe that there's a lot going on, but we've got two critical things that, and then we can go from. Let's go ahead and take you a 6-minute play our ad, and we will be right back.
Are you looking for a real estate agent who knows the Fayetteville community inside and out? Look no further, as your hometown girl, LaTanya, has extensive experience of our area and experience in its real estate market. LaTanya delivers results. At LMR Realty Group, we all understand that buying or selling a home can be a stressful experience. When you partner with us, you control the decisions while LMR Realty Group guides the process, and together, we'll work from contract to close with ease. Whether you're a first-time buyer, downsizing, or expanding your investment portfolio, LMR Realty Group has got you covered. As a bonus, if you call and go under contract by March 31st, LMR Realty Group can cover up to $400 for a home warranty on a resale property with all appliances included. Some exclusions apply. Don't wait. Call 910-574-8225 or visit ELLIMARRealtyGroup.com to get you started. Let's make your dream home a reality with LMR Realty Group.
Zone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your three hosts. I am Tisha S. Waddell, joined by Mr. Elmer Floyd and Mr. Ted Moan, and we're talking the House of Representatives in the state of North Carolina now. Let's talk about the Cumberland County Delegation funds requested for 2023. So, in layman's terms, what is that?
Okay, let me bring up this graphic. I'll let Mr. Floyd take this one.
All right, Mr. Floyd, what does this mean to us? Does this mean we
Well,
have $18 million coming into North Carolina, into Cumberland County?
no, the House has already approved its budget. So if you see a H, that's a House suspended. That's a House bill. The House has already approved this budget and sent it over to the Senate.
So that means that all these bills with H on them.
The,
There,
the beauty of that, the beauty of that is that it can be added later if you had a strong representative to have this applied into what we refer a technical amendment. There, but you also got to get some help on the Senate side to even have it mentioned on the Senate side. And I don't think the Senate is a unique group in which to work with.
mhm.
The $18 million that you see there, I doubt very seriously that you would see it in some of the projects appear in that ending legislative day.
Right. And when I looked up all these bills just the other day, they are still all in appropriations. Uh, and who was it? The bottom three House bills: Fayetteville Police Department, Veterans Park Phase 2, corridor improvements. Diane Wheatley, our only Republican House in Cumberland, was, she sponsored the bills along with the other three of members. We have the Democratic members. Um, yeah. Uh, so that was those last eight 38, 39, 40 was sponsored by all four. So
So
hopefully,
we may see some movement on those three, if
right.
they can be.
Yeah,
I
and the other ones, that Marvin Lucas sponsored. Um, I believe he's got a very good relationship with most of the House members across the aisle. But again, Diane Wheatley I don't think she co-sponsored with Mr. Lucas. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
Chief, let me say this to you all. If you and Ted can get a better understanding of the budgetary process,
Mm-hmm.
the Senate is going to send their version of the budget over to the House.
Mm-hmm.
The House is going to reject the Senate version of the budget. It's automatic. A conference committee is set up. That target date of 39 point somewhat billion dollars is going to remain in place. They are going to negotiate up and down the budget figures. They're not going to move money from education and put it in transportation or vice versa. So it's going to be there. So you have to figure out which one of those committee chairs want some of this money, if possible, during the conference thing, to be added to the budget. And the chances for that is very, very, very slim.
So it doesn't improve the chances that Diane Wheatley is a Republican and the Senate has a Republican majority. And we, I mean, we have to take into consideration the fact that this is politics, and it's a game it's a strategic game, which means because Diane Wheatley is a Republican in the House, that they have to do something. They got to give her something to make sure that she can come back and say she was UPS.
Let me say to you, Chief, the Senate is a very unique group in which to work with.
Okay.
Very unique in which to work with. And if you don't have McGinnis on the other side, lobbying, in her best interest, because only the big chairs are going to be part of that. The big chairs are going to be part of that conferee committee. And if there's not a strong relationship from our delegation with those big chairs, it's not likely that we'll see this $18 million coming to Cumberland County. And Ted, you
We
mentioned
should certainly watch this. It's 9, 10, 7, 9, 10. I think we should watch $10 million that you guys say has Diane's name as a sponsor on them. I think those are the three bills in the House to watch.
well,
Right.
now you remember one year we was able to get $132 million. The governor vetoed it. Last election we got 412 million, somewhere around that figure.
Mm-hmm.
This year we're down to 18 point some odd million, and we are a tier one community. So we need all the help that we can get from Raleigh to help us grow our community. And I said to y'all early on that this would be an economic desert for our community
Yeah.
during this legislative session, and I
And
stick with it.
yeah, and there was one Senate bill that Val Applewhite was one of the primary sponsors. It's the last bill, 469, maternal health programs, 1.25 million. It
For
was
birthing people?
it was a one-page bill, and one of the organizations was here in Fayetteville, and in there it actually said birthing people, for
Who
maternal
are
health.
birthing people? Who are birthing people?
That's why I put it in red. I'm like, who would put birthing people in a Senate bill? I mean, maternal health, maternal mama. What is a birthing?
Yeah, but there's this push, and Mr. Floyd talks about it all the time. He reminds us how far this democratic ideology has gone and how underrepresented the minority community truly is, and that speaks even to women, because remember, women are minorities. So this is another underrepresentation of women as minorities, because as a woman, I am not a birthing person. I am a person who gave birth, but I am a mother.
Mm-hmm. I got a mom. Yeah.
We all got a mom. Look, listen, even the kids who were born of IVF, they have a mom too, whether they know her or not.
Mm-hmm.
They have a mom too.
Yeah, you can't be alive if you don't have a mom.
If you don't have a mom.
That's what I would. I'll take this.
Where does that bill go next, Ted?
It went into appropriations, which means it's not going anywhere because it was all sponsored by Democrats. But now there is one organization, Mama's Village, who does, downtown, who.
Lady?
Yes, and her organization is quite good. And Kirk Deviere tried to help her out in the past. And her organization is one of the 4 that I saw in this bill. So it would be good if she or her organization could get some money, for minority, mental health and, lactation and all that other things she does, because she does a lot of
mental health. You said mental health, but I know you meant maternal health. But let me say this. I think anytime you have, that's okay. Anytime you have a representative, particularly when that representative is the head of that organization, and they're it's hard, even when they have a good organization, for them to get the help that they need. Because when you are inflammatory, you burn a lot of bridges. And when I say inflammatory, I don't mean controversial is fine. When I say inflammatory, I mean you are that doesn't really need a fight. I've seen her do it with me. I've seen her do it elected. It's unnecessary because, like you said, the work is the work, and there are people who agree with your work, but because you have a bad disposition, you want to people who want to help you the most. It really hurts your organization. It hurts your organization.
Yeah, and
well,
I can look. Go ahead, Mr. Floyd.
You mentioned, and Ted mentioned earlier, about where this bill is going. You have to look at the sponsor of the bill. How did the sponsor arrive in Raleigh? And let's just stop right there. And if you look at the North Carolina Board of Education, how they are trying to strip our governor of his authority, and then to recognize certain individuals who has a strong support from our governor, is not going to fare well in the Senate.
Oh yeah, North Carolina is under a Republican stronghold. Yeah, the Republicans got North Carolina right now. This is their state. And if you are not in line with their ideology or their political party, you don't have a lot working in your favor right now in the state of North Carolina politically.
Yeah, but with that, yeah, but once I saw Mama's Village, knowing it's a local organization, hopefully they'll do something for that organization out of that 1.25 million.
That bill is dead, Ted. You can hope all you want to. That bill is dead. It's gonna remain what I call in a parking debt. It's gonna remain in APP, appropriation parking debt. It's gonna remain there.
Let's talk about how some of these transitions are going to look over the long haul, because we do have about 10 minutes left. Let's discuss this redistricting, because it's going to be a big determining factor as to what the Senate continue to look like moving. So what's going on in terms of, I know that we've had the Supreme Court has issued a ruling in terms of redistricting saying, hey, what was the ruling? Talk about.
Right. So they ruled that partisan redistricting is non-judiciable because there is no clear standard identified by either the court or the General Assembly. So when they did the redistricting for the House, the Senate, and Congressional, then all three maps were challenged, and then they redrew all three maps, and then people were elected. So now they're going to redistrict, and I think they're going to look at incumbency protection, at least for the House members, maybe not, the Republicans. So I believe, well, they're going to redraw. They could do it any way they want pretty much now. They still have to follow the Voting Rights Act of 1965. You can't do racial gerrymandering and stuff like that. So there are some things that they legally cannot do, and they won't do it because they're going to pick a map for the House, the Senate, and Congress that favors the Republicans, probably a little bit more than it does right now. And thinking about Cumberland County itself, let me see if I got a graphic, and I do, for the House. Let me hit share. And it should pop up. So this is my stab at what I think they might do. Because right now, only District 43, Diane Wheatley, was a lean Republican. And then 42, 44, and 45 were all, they call it safe Democrat. In their first map, in 2021, they had both District 43 and 45 as lean Republican, and then 42 and 44 were strong Democrat. I mean, 42 is like 70% Democrat.
Yeah.
And so I think they're going to try to pick up another Republican seat, here in Cumberland County by making 43 and 45 similar to this, but they're going to do it however they want. But this here allows the Republicans, about 2 to 2.5% advantage in 43 and 45. So that could bring one more Republican in the House. In the Senate.
Have you heard about one of our local elected officials, former elected officials, hosting to announce their potential candidacy for House District 43?
I've heard rumors, but I haven't seen it. But I heard there might be emails going around, but I'm not a
who rumor of.
There ain't but one that runs every year. He just lost a congressional a bid. So
hearing those rumors?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
We call that a waste of time. What we anticipate these maps will be drawn like.
Well, and Ted, Cumberland County really is a Democrat county.
Yes.
The key thing of it is voter turnout.
Mm-hmm.
And Ted mentions the House District 43 was a swing district. If you look at the voters, it had more Democrats, unaffiliated, and then Republican came in like this.
Right.
And so if you don't have voter turnout, so what the Republican Party wants to do is to keep its supermajority as it has now, which is 72. They want to keep that 72. So they are going to draw the district showing that they could utilize 2 Democrats in Cumberland County and 2 Republicans in Cumberland County. So you don't know how that is going to shape up. You know that they are, Ted mentioned that they are going to protect the incumbency, which Diane is a Republican. So they are going to try to put her into a safe district. And that district would probably be east of the river. And then they would look at coming along Hope Mill around that area as its second Republican district. When you look at the inner city of Fayetteville, you know, that's a Democrat. And if you look at Spring Lake, you know, that's the Democrat because, you know, you have Fort Bragg, which is 55,000. And then that other number to make a district should be anywhere between 25 and 29,000. Having said that, a district consists of 79,000 left or right 5%. And so there's a possibility that two Republican districts can be drawn into Cumberland County. The thing that we always say, you can draw districts, but are they voting districts?
Mm-hmm.
Key. Are they voting districts? Now,
Mhm.
redistricting, the House was satisfied with the way that the maps were drawn. The Senate is the one, Ted, that was not happy and went to court. We lost seats under the House map because,
Yes.
again, unless my party changed the way in which it looks at its candidates, we're going to have a hard way to go in the next 6 years. And maybe
Yeah.
in 2032, there, it maybe get a chance to redraw the district to accommodate more Democrats.
I think that the Democratic Party is also going to have to get these because we, the independent,
Tish, I don't
the
see.
state of North Carolina looks like, the independents are not really supporting the ideology of the Democratic Party because if they were, Democrats would have the majority because we are the deciding factor at this point in elections.
But we have not realized that we have to change the message
Right.
in order to attract that unaffiliated vote.
We trying to help the Democratic Party, Mr. Floyd, right? We sitting here telling them what they need to do.
It's gonna be, you see, you know, I call it a California offense. You can't run a California offense or a New York offense
In North Carolina.
in a Bible Belt state.
At all. Ted, what's this map?
This is the map that the General Assembly first passed in 2021 that was struck down by the courts, it was challenged, and then they had to redraw. And so my previous example, what I came up with, but both in this one, 43 and 45, again on were lean Republicans, very not much, and so I think like Mr. Floyd said, they're gonna where John Soka used to live in 45, and his neighborhood is in this 45, but then with the redistricting, he was taken out of 45. So I think the General Assembly is going to go back to something similar to this, where 43 and 45 are going to be lean Republican, because you can't make a majority Republicans unless, like Mr. Floyd said, if you go to the bottom right corner, southeast corner of Cumberland County and pick up there's two large precincts there, which are more heavily Republican. You could make 43 a little stronger Republican. But so I just think
So Ted, under this second map, do we see possibly a return of John Zoka as a candidate for House District 45?
He could, if they do something like this, because he's right there below 44. Page 4 is right below the 44 line, and he, as far as I know, he still lives there, and he did get crossover voters, especially with the stuff that he had done, with the Gen X and everything. And they worked on that, for a couple years, or actually several years. So he's very well known in that area. So, I mean, I don't know what he's personally going to do, but I mean, it would.
It's possible. And our guest last week, Johnny Dawkins, did confirm for me in our prior conversation that one of his legislative requests was to have Gates 4, annexed into the city of Fayetteville, which John Zoka was the one who was really standing against that. And so I think that, if something like that is being discussed, that probably certainly be a catalyst for him to want to come on back and get back in the fray.
Right. And I was on council when they were, de-annexed, and the General Assembly did that. They de-annexed it, and the city could not come back, for 10 years. So they cannot.
Has it been 10 years?
It's getting close.
5, Ted. I think it was 5 because
okay.
William Bristol and I made that motion because when you all was doing, when you and Tish, you all
I wasn't there.
This big bang annexation, you allow Gate 4 to come wait for under the big annexation and gave them 5 years to meditate over there. So William Bristol and I made the motion there not to allow Gate 4 to be annexed. So you gave them that right to do that, but at the same time, those other 43,000 had to come into the city.
Have a choice. Mm-hmm.
So right, and now the city cannot do involuntary annexation, so they would have to partition for it, or the General Assembly would have to do it, and that's not going to happen.
You don't have to worry about Fayetteville.
Wait a minute, y'all. Y'all are still saying it's not going to happen as if we are. I just want to remind y'all, it's a Republican state. Johnny Dawkins is a Republican. Now I've heard tell that those Republicans
are going to annex Gate 4. Okay, they're not going to annex.
Do you think that that's because of their relationship with John Zoka?
No, because Cumberland County, by doing the city of Fayetteville, by doing the Big Bang annexation, destroyed annexation for the state of North Carolina.
Okay.
That's true.
If you annex, you had 3 years to provide that service. And Ted and I, we worked on that, with Shaw Heights.
Mm-hmm.
When we say the city can annex Shaw Heights, and they had 2 years in which to consider how they want to do the infrastructure to build Shaw Heights. They could have went back to the General Assembly and got an extension. But our council through J.L. Dawkins knew that if there was a dissenting vote, that the House would not take it up. He knew that. So he was not supportive of annexing Shaw Heights.
Okay. Well, listen, guys, on that note, tell me your final thoughts.
Be prepared for November election and find you some ID and test that ID prior to.
Yep. And our city budget, according to their calendar, might be presented on the 22nd of May at their council meeting from the city manager. So they have supposedly another budget meeting tonight. I can't find a link to it, but it's on their calendar they had at their last meeting. So we'll know pretty soon what the city manager is recommending for the upcoming budget. Fee increases.
Now I've heard it's 4.25 to cover the bonds and some fee increases. Mm-hmm. So increase. That's what I heard. And they may point to Chapel Hill.
Tax increase, please.
That's right. And they may point to Chapel Hill because I did see that Chapel Hill is expecting a significant increase in their taxes to be able to balance their budget. But I want to point back to what you guys said earlier. We are no Chapel Hill.
Mm-mm.
Chapel Hill's a tier 3 community, which means they can afford a tax increase. We are tier 1, which means we cannot. We We have 20% of our population that is food insecure, meaning they cannot afford to eat. 20%, a fifth of our population is food insecure and cannot afford to eat. But we have a council that is ignoring that and is oblivious to that reality. That's all I got. That's my gritty in the city and the word on the curb. Mr. Floyd, there's so much what?
Good and the best of us to behoove none of us to sit down and have a conversation with all of us.
And that is that. Ted, you got anything else before we get out of here and play this outro?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
I do want to tell y'all one more thing, because I said I was going to be committed to making sure that every time I get a chance, I'm going to remind people Jesus loves you. This I know. You know how I know? Because the best-selling book in the world for years and years says so. That's it. Y'all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you. We will all catch you on the next episode of The Up Zone. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Go to YouTube and pass this around. Like them people be passing that weed on the streets. Y'all pass this around, because this is the good stuff. We'll catch you next week.